welcome to another deep dive. This one might actually completely change how you think about being a man, sexually speaking.
Ooh, intriguing.
We're going to be diving into the world of Taoist sexuality.
Okay.
Ever heard of the Multi-Orgasmic Man?
I have heard that phrase, yes.
Well, our guide on this journey is a book called The Multi-Orgasmic Man. It explores the ins and outs of sexual kung fu, which, honestly, what a great name, right?
Yeah.
So get ready for some surprises, folks, because we're about to uncover a whole new approach to pleasure, intimacy, and even overall well-being.
Well, what's fascinating to me about Taoist sexuality is that it really directly challenges so many of the assumptions that we have about male sexuality in the West.
Right, that's what's so exciting.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin to, dismantle those assumptions? What's the starting point for understanding this different approach?
Well, the book starts by kind of deconstructing what it calls the Western model of male sexuality.
Yeah.
You know, the one that focuses almost entirely on the penis. And that sees ejaculation as the main event, the grand finale of the sexual experience.
Right, it's all goal-oriented, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, get in, get out, get her done.
Totally.
But the book suggests there's more to the story.
Exactly. There's way more to the story. And actually, the consequences of this limited view, I think, are pretty significant. Think about it like if your entire focus is on reaching that single climax, it can create a lot of pressure, you know? A lot of anxiety. It can lead to feelings of inadequacy if you don't perform in a certain way, you know, according to some arbitrary standard.
It's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, no wonder so many men struggle with, performance anxiety, feeling like they're not enough.
Absolutely. And that's where, you know, the Taoist perspective comes in, is like, whoa, wait. We've got a completely different approach here. It's interesting. The book actually uses this really powerful analogy to illustrate this difference. It compares men to fire, quick to ignite, but also quick to burn out.
Right. It's that flash. It's that
a
fleeting burst of flame.
Literally.
Okay, so instead of that, what does the Taoist approach offer?
It offers cultivation. It's about cultivating sexual energy, not just like releasing it in this one quick explosion.
Okay.
And that actually brings us to the core concept of the multi-orgasmic man. The idea that men can experience multiple orgasms without ejaculating.
Whoa, hold on. That completely flips the script, right? Like, how is that even possible? What's the secret?
The secret, if you will,
Yeah.
lies in learning to cultivate and circulate sexual energy throughout the body,
Okay.
rather than just focusing on the genitals.
So it's not just down there.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And it's not about, you know, achieving some superhuman feat of endurance, you know? We're not talking about lasting for hours and hours. It's about experiencing a more holistic and fulfilling kind of pleasure.
So it's not just about quantity. It's it's quality over quantity. This all sounds a bit mystical to me. Is there any scientific basis for this idea of circulating sexual energy?
Actually, there is. Western science is, I think, just beginning to catch up.
Oh, okay.
To what, you know, Taoist practitioners have known for centuries.
Okay.
But there's growing evidence to support the idea that male sexual response isn't just about the penis. For example, the book highlights Western scientific validation of the Taoist understanding of the stages of erection. So it's like showing how ancient wisdom is aligning with modern research.
So there's this kind of convergence happening between the ancient wisdom and the modern science.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
I'm still struggling to grasp this concept of circulating energy.
Yeah.
It's very abstract.
I understand. That's where this concept of Chi comes in.
Okay.
So Chi, or bioelectric energy, it's this vital life force that flows through everything.
Okay.
It's like, you know, the electricity that powers our bodies, and it plays this really crucial role in sexual function.
So we're talking about actual energy here, not just some metaphorical idea.
Yeah.
But how do we even tap into this chi? Can we feel it?
Absolutely. In fact, the book actually provides this simple experiment you can do to experience your own chi. Remember, you know, as a kid, did you ever rub your hands together really, really fast?
Oh, yeah.
And then hold them slightly apart?
Yeah, and you'd feel that warmth, like a magnetic force between your palms.
Exactly. That's your chi. And so it's the same energy that we can actually learn to cultivate and direct for sexual sexual pleasure and overall well-being. This is the foundation of what the book calls sexual kung fu.
So how do we take this tangible energy, right?
Yeah.
And use it in like a sexual context?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So that's where we, delve into the techniques of sexual kung fu. And the book provides like a roadmap, I think, for harnessing this energy.
Right.
It starts by introducing the microcosmic orbit,
Okay.
which is essentially the body's primary energy pathway. Imagine it's like a circuit
Okay.
that runs from the perineum up the spine, over the head, and then down the front of the body, back to the perineum.
So it's like a closed loop.
Yeah, it's like a closed loop that this energy flows through.
Okay.
And just like any circuit, if there's like blockages or restrictions,
Right.
the energy can't flow freely.
Okay.
So sexual kung fu uses specific techniques to open up this pathway and allow qi to circulate smoothly.
So that sounds like it's a lot of focus and control.
It is.
What are some examples of these techniques?
So the book highlights two key techniques,
Yeah.
the cool draw
Okay.
and the big draw. And what's interesting is the cool draw is actually all about cultivating sexual energy before you even become aroused.
Okay. So you're getting ready, like you're
You're laying the groundwork.
you're laying the groundwork.
You're preparing your energy system for a more powerful and fulfilling experience.
So it's not just about like what happens in the heat of the moment. It's
Yeah.
about creating like a foundation of balanced energy beforehand.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fascinating. What about the big draw? When does that come in?
So the big draw is for when you're already aroused and you need to channel that energy effectively.
Okay.
It involves specific breathing techniques,
Okay.
muscle contractions, visualizations
Okay.
to prevent premature ejaculation
Yeah.
and allow for the experience of multiple orgasms.
So there's a lot to learn and practice here. But what are the benefits beyond the obvious sexual ones? Like, is this just about like having more orgasms?
That's a great question, and it leads us to, I think, the heart of what makes sexual kung fu so transformative. It's not just about sex, it's about self-cultivation. The Taoists believe that sexual energy is incredibly powerful and can be used for healing, for personal growth, for enhancing vitality.
So it's about tapping into this energy source for a much, much broader purpose.
Yes, exactly.
But like, what are some concrete examples of those benefits? How does this translate to everyday life?
The book is filled with anecdotes.
Okay.
And examples of men who have experienced these profound transformations through this practice. They report increased energy, greater emotional balance, improved health and vitality, even a deeper connection with their partners.
Wow. That's quite a range of benefits.
It is.
We've covered so much ground already, from debunking this like Western model of male sexuality to exploring the concept of qi and like these techniques of sexual kung fu. I'm curious to hear more about how this practice impacts like relationships. We're not, just these isolated individuals experiencing this on our own, right?
Totally. That's such a crucial aspect of this practice. We'll delve into that more next time. We'll explore how sexual kung fu can lead to deeper intimacy, longer lasting lovemaking, and greater satisfaction for both partners.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, we were talking about sexual kung fu. And as we continue exploring it, I think it's important to really kind of shift our focus now to relationships. It's one thing to cultivate this energy within yourself, but how does it actually play out, between two partners?
That's what I'm really curious about. Because I got to say, like, this whole concept of the multi-orgasmic man, I can see it raising some eyebrows from partners.
Yeah.
Would a woman be concerned, that her partner wouldn't want to ejaculate anymore?
Yeah.
Or that lovemaking would become too technical and lose its, like, spontaneity?
Those are valid concerns, and the book does address them directly. It emphasizes that sexual kung fu isn't about eliminating ejaculation altogether. It's about awareness.
Okay.
It's about making conscious choices.
So it's not about abstinence, but about, like, a more mindful approach.
Totally, a more mindful approach to sexual energy.
Yeah.
But I can see how a woman would still be like, but would he still feel satisfied?
Right.
They-
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the book acknowledges, communication is key. Like partners need to talk openly
Right.
about their needs, their desires, and explore how this practice can enhance pleasure for both of them.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Open communication, essential in any relationship. But I think especially when you're exploring something new like this,
Totally.
potentially challenging.
For sure.
So how does this practice actually enhance a woman's pleasure?
That's a great question. the book uses this really compelling analogy.
Okay.
It compares a man to someone running with a hang glider, like towards a cliff.
Okay.
And the cliff represents ejaculation. So the goal is to take off with the hang glider.
Okay.
Experience orgasm before going over the edge.
So the woman she's helping her partner take off.
Yeah.
At the right time to avoid that cliff.
Exactly. It's all about timing. And so, how does that actually translate to increased pleasure for her? It's about sustained connection and heightened sensitivity. When a man learns to control his arousal and circulate his energy, he can stay present and connected with his partner for much longer.
Right.
And this can lead to this deeper level of intimacy and allow the woman to fully explore her own arousal and pleasure.
Okay.
Without the pressure of a quick climax.
So it's like it shifts the focus, right?
Really.
From a single explosive event to like a more sustained experience.
Yes.
A more expansive experience of pleasure.
Exactly.
For both partners.
Yes.
It's a pretty revolutionary concept.
It is, and the book actually highlights how, this approach can even lead to what it calls safer sex because there's less risk of STDs when ejaculation is controlled.
Right.
So that adds another layer of, consideration, especially in today's world.
Yeah, that's a significant benefit. But let's go back to the question of ejaculation for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Does the book offer any guidelines on when it's appropriate?
It does. It cites Dr. Sun Sumiao, this renowned Taoist master, who suggested a frequency based on a man's age and health.
Okay.
Like, for example, a younger man might ejaculate once every 4 days, while an older man might do so once every 10 days.
So there's no, hard and fast rule. It's more like a general guideline.
It's a guideline based on, individual needs and circumstances, but ultimately the message is listen to your body.
Right. Be aware of your energy levels.
Exactly. Make conscious choices rather than just going on autopilot.
Right. And this brings us to a really important point about how sexual kung fu can impact long-term relationships. The book argues that it can actually enhance these relationships by promoting intimacy, affection, and sustained passion.
I think that makes a lot of sense. If you're not constantly focused on that end goal of ejaculation, you can be more present and connected with your partner, which can deepen that intimacy, keep the spark alive over time.
Exactly. And the book even cites research to support this claim, referencing a study from UC Berkeley about happiness in long-term marriages. The study found that couples who reported high levels of physical affection and non-sexual intimacy were more likely to be happy in their relationships.
So, literally scientific evidence.
Yeah.
To suggest that this focus on sustained connection can contribute to long-term relationship satisfaction.
But let's be real, learning to control your sexual energy like this, it can't be easy. What does the book say about, the challenges people might face?
Well, it's honest about the challenges. It acknowledges that learning these techniques takes time, effort, and a willingness to experiment. Some men might experience difficulty controlling their arousal, especially at first.
Right.
Others might feel some discomfort during the practice, especially if they're not used to paying such close attention to their bodies.
So there's a learning curve, and it's not always going to be smooth sailing. But does the book offer any guidance for navigating these challenges?
It does. It really emphasizes the importance of patience, self-compassion, and a playful attitude. It also provides practical tips like practicing on an empty stomach.
Okay.
And wearing loose clothing to avoid any unnecessary discomfort. And it also encourages men to, seek out experienced teachers or practitioners if they need guidance.
Yeah, those sound like valuable tips. Are there any physical sensations that people should be aware of during practice? Anything that might seem alarming but is actually normal?
Yeah, the book does mention that some men report experiencing pain in their back, their eyes, or head during the practice. And it explains that these sensations are often due to blockages in the energy pathways and can usually be addressed with adjustments to the practice or guidance from an experienced teacher.
So it's important to pay attention to your body signals and adjust accordingly.
Totally.
But let's talk about another challenge that many men face, one that often leads to a lot of anxiety and insecurity, and that's penis size. Does the book address this issue?
It does, and it actually takes this refreshingly direct approach. It uses the locker room analogy to illustrate how men often overestimate the importance of size. It's remember being a teenager, comparing yourself to others.
Oh, the locker room, yeah. I think most men can relate to that.
Right.
But if size isn't the key factor, what is?
The book emphasizes strength and technique, which are, after all, the essence of Kung Fu, right?
Right.
It argues that these factors, along with understanding female arousal patterns, matter more than size when it comes to satisfying a partner.
So it's about skill, connection, and like really understanding your partner's needs.
Yeah.
Not just anatomy. What about men who experience impotence? Can they still practice sexual kung fu and experience pleasure?
That's a great question, and the book offers reassurance that sexual kung fu can still be practiced and pleasurable, even in cases of erectile dysfunction.
That's really empowering. It's challenged the idea that like sexual fulfillment is dependent on a specific physical function.
Totally.
What about like the psychological and emotional factors that contribute to impotence?
Absolutely. The book acknowledges the role of stress, anxiety, relationship issues in sexual function, and it encourages men to, address these underlying issues, and it offers practical advice for managing impotence
Okay.
through lifestyle changes, stress reduction techniques, and open communication with their partners.
And so it's a holistic approach that takes into account both like the physical and psychological aspects of male sexuality. I'm curious, does the book talk about how to pass on this knowledge to future generations?
That's a great point. It actually leads us to like the final segment of our deep dive. The book concludes with this really powerful reflection on the importance of passing on this knowledge to sons, breaking the cycle of silence and shame that often surrounds sexuality.
That's so important. Like we need to create a more open and honest dialogue about sexuality, starting at a young age.
Totally.
What insights does the book offer on how to do that?
So, we've explored the techniques, we've talked about the benefits, and even how this can impact relationships. But I think there's like a bigger question here.
Right.
What's the deeper meaning of all of this?
Yeah.
What does this multi-orgasmic man concept, like what does it really teach us about sexuality and ourselves? It's a question that I think takes us beyond just the physical
Right.
into like self-discovery, personal growth. The book suggests that this practice, it's not just about sex. It's about tapping into this powerful energy source within us and using it to cultivate a more fulfilling and meaningful life. So it's more holistic.
Yeah.
It integrates mind, body, and spirit.
Right. You're not just looking at it as a purely physical experience.
Right.
It's something much bigger.
The book really challenges us to rethink our whole approach to sexuality, moving away from this idea that it's just about, reaching a climax.
Right.
And embracing it as a path to deeper intimacy, self-knowledge, even spiritual connection.
It's a pretty profound shift in perspective. And I'm starting to see how this practice like could be so much more than just, a way to enhance sexual pleasure.
Totally.
It's like a gateway to a whole new level of awareness and understanding.
It is. And what's interesting is the book emphasizes that like this journey of self-discovery, it isn't just for men. Partners can embark on this path together, supporting each other's growth and deepening their connection along the way.
That's a really nice thought. So how does this practice actually like facilitate that kind of growth and connection? Like what's the mechanism at play?
Well, it starts with awareness. Sexual kung fu really encourages us to pay attention to our bodies. Notice the sensations, become more attuned to the flow of energy within us. And this, increased awareness then kind of spills over into other areas of our lives, makes us more present, more mindful, more connected to ourselves and the world around us. You're cultivating a heightened sensitivity, not just to physical sensations, but to emotions, thoughts, even subtle energy shifts.
Right.
And that increased sensitivity can then help us navigate our relationships with more compassion and understanding.
I see, yeah. It all makes sense. It all connects.
It does. And even the book suggests that this practice can enhance our creativity, our ability to connect with something larger than ourselves, whether that's nature, art, music, spirituality.
Right.
So, it's about opening ourselves up to a wider range of experiences and possibilities.
Like you're tapping into this wellspring of energy and inspiration that can like flow into every aspect of your life.
Exactly. And that's what makes this concept of the multi-orgasmic man, so much more than just a technique for sexual enhancement. It's an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery, explore the depths of our potential, and create a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and guiding us through this really fascinating, thought-provoking exploration of Taoist sexuality.
Oh, my pleasure. I really encourage you to explore these ideas further, see how they resonate with you, and maybe even experiment with some of the practices we've talked about. You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself and the world around you.
To our listeners, we hope this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity,
Yeah.
inspired you to think differently about male sexuality. Remember, there's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to experience. Keep diving deep and keep those minds open.